motherfucker flipping. In fact, Oklahoma and the boo, we finna rip up the track. We put it down for the niggas that be stuck on the grind. Dodging haters, crackers, jackers, shiesty bitches in time. It's time to go get it. I see it lit it and let some more hit it survive.
You need to be able to move dynamically and move my bolo against your rifle. Okay. 1 and 2 fluid attack, because it's not for slashing. The knife is for thrusting in close quarter. Right from here, boom, you draw that here, and as long as you have your number 1 and number 2. 1, 2. 1 and 2. The same thing with your empty hands. 1, 2. Power striking, fluid attacks, 1 slap, 2 half. In other words, you're going to be there. Okay? Then I'm going to stomp on your neck.
Now say goodnight.
See, so right away, there's my jab here. With my jab here, boom, there's my number 1. Because you're not attacking. Okay? You attack me, I attack. What? Then I can go for my elbow destruction. Weapon comes up here, you strike down to here, and then you thrust here. Boom, boom, boom. Into the weapon hand here, and then into the throat. Then, let that weapon. Okay? Not weapon comes up to the point, downward, and exposes the head. There's your power slap on number 1. Back again to the other side. Follow through. Attack here. You know, I come for the jab here. Right away, as this comes in, I can either clear this here as I knife jab, bang. Now the enemy can't see. I secure the weapon here, and I finish in close quarter. You're going to be a master of all weapons.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
They're creating a world government mark of the beast. 2.2 billion people just got told they can't use certain words. They're announcing giant cult-like brainwashing. They're teaching 5-year-olds how to suck cock.
It's an unbelievable thing, man. Like everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
Starts to come and then he pulls out. You have to like when there's a guy coming right in your face and he just sits in there and delivers it. You got guys coming down his face.
Feeling is the Cowboys probably coming right down their throats.
Tyrell Williams. He beats.
Needed 2 thrusts to get it in.
Bynes has been coming all night long, but then he pulls out and it's just hard. It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big. He almost didn't know what to do. Got 5 inches on him, but somebody's going to get that gobbler at the end of this game, too.
Receiver coach has been blown away by Crabtree's hands and his ability to suck in these balls.
Oh! You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then do
available.
and homelessness and all that.
And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume.
I'm kind of retarded.
Anybody that you see out here trying to claim that they had the exploding pagers on their 2024 bingo card, I would go ahead and ask to see some receipts. I didn't even think they made these things anymore. Once upon a time I had a pager. Of course, that was back in the 90s when everybody just had a VCR because DVDs weren't even a fucking thing yet. And a desktop computer had less computing power than my phone does. And then of course the second thought was, oh, there's gonna be some memes.
Mother of God, I thought. Here it comes.
And the internet did not let us down. Within hours, there was a flood. And this may seem like a bit of a macabre thing to joke about, mostly because it is a macabre thing to joke about. But if you're trying to make it through these next few years with your sanity intact, you're gonna need to sharpen up your gallows humor. But anyway, the memes came hard and fast like a tsunami, and we laughed and laughed, and then the laughs subsided and critical thinking kicked in and people started wondering, how did they do this? In the first few hours, nobody was even taking credit for this, even though everybody knew who was fucking behind it. But people started also hypothesizing on how this could have happened. And when some people started suggesting that these devices could have been remotely hacked into and the lithium-ion battery made to explode, people are like, "Ooh, wait, you mean the same kind of battery that's in my goddamn phone?" And even though, as of now, as far as I know, nobody has taken official responsibility for it, somehow unnamed sources got it out to the media that they did this through intercepting the pagers in the supply chain and planting explosives in each pager individually thousands of times. Of course, it is also true that lithium-ion batteries can be made to combust. And the truth is, either one of these scenarios should be pretty unsettling to people because either way, for all you know, you're walking around with a ticking time bomb strapped to your fucking waist or sitting in your pocket. That is, when it's not directly in your face. And then the next day, when you had a bunch of other shit reportedly explode, like Baofeng radios, the power banks to solar generators, it makes you wonder, did they intercept the shipments of these as well and plant explosives? How were they detonated? Were these power banks connected to the grid or the internet? Were these radios on at the time? There's a lot of questions that probably aren't going to get answered. And while, like I said, both possibilities are troubling for the how they did it, it would seem a little bit more troubling the possibility that anything with a lithium-ion battery could be remotely detonated. What's also troubling is the why, because disrupting your enemy's communications like that is exactly what you do right before a big operation. And now, what do you know, all kinds of explosions are being reported all over Lebanon. And while lately I've been mainly talking about the Russia-Ukraine war spiraling out of control, while that risk remains, there's also the risk of the same thing happening in the Middle East. And then, of course, there was the other big story of the week, the arrest of the P-Diddler. And if any of you are wondering why hip-hop music in the past 20 or so years had gone very much in the direction of fake and gay, well, now you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Just goes to show you how quickly things can change. One day you're out here living your best life, feeling untouchable, and the next thing you know...
Bye-bye, dickhead.
And everybody's making the obvious comparison to Jeffrey Epstein, especially with him now in jail being placed on suicide watch. And I guess he is the gay, black Hollywood version of Epstein. And it's interesting to me that for all the news coverage I've seen on this on TV in the past week, they've really underreported the whole gay angle and the whole blackmail angle. And they did that with Epstein too. They really leaned in hard to the abusing underage girls thing, and also about him rubbing shoulders with rich and powerful and politically connected people, and they hardly ever mentioned that he had fucking video cameras everywhere and compromising material on these people, most likely. And now I guess we're about to find out whether he's got a rock-solid dead man switch or not. If he doesn't have a way for a lot of this blackmail material to get out should something happen to him, he is proper fucked.
Proper fucked.
And on a little side note, a week before he got arrested, he was hanging out with former President Obama, leaving a lot of us to wonder what's really going on here. I know I have my theory, and I'll say it like this, just like what I said with Epstein. There are other people doing this exact thing that are just not on anybody's radar. Epstein and Diddy got to the point where too many people were talking about it and too much of it was getting out into the public sphere, and so that op got blown and they're trying to mop it up. And they will. I'm guessing that however this plays out, it's going to result in an extremely limited amount of information ever becoming public. That may seem like I'm being overly skeptical, but shit, there was a lot of people that when Epstein got arrested thought that there's no way they'll be able to cover this up. But they sure succeeded in making that story fade away without any of the client list ever being revealed, didn't they? And the timing of this makes it seem like it's just more of a distraction than anything else. even if you start having a deluge of people coming forward to tell their stories. Kinda like what happened when the Harvey Weinstein thing finally broke wide open. People will feel safer talking about it because they're in numbers. So there might be a bunch of people about to be like, oh, you want to know about Diddy?
All I can tell you, sir, is that he's gay.
Gay, gay!
But really, past that, I don't see this resulting in anything meaningful. And on another side note, does anybody remember when a guy shot up the Trump Doral resort back in 2018? Well, do you also remember that that guy was ranting about being Diddy's sex slave?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
It was something that got almost universally ignored in the media. If you go back and search for the news stories of that back from 2018, they'll mention him ranting and saying supposedly anti-Trump rhetoric that if you actually read what he was saying doesn't sound so anti-Trump. But basically none of them talk about how he was saying this shit about Diddy. Although some outlets are reporting on that now. This resurfaced clip. And this is a weird and fucking deceptive headline. P. Diddy's inmate? He wasn't an inmate over anything having to do with P. Diddy. He was an inmate over shooting up Trump Doral Resort, and then while in custody claimed some shit about P. Diddy. And when you go further on down in the article, it says that he was in prison being questioned by police officers in Florida for an unrelated case. Doesn't it seem weird that it's like they go out of their way to not mention what it is he was in jail for?
That's weird.
Anyways, as this election makes it into the final stretch, the corporate network news is still trying to keep everybody convinced that Kamala's hanging in there neck and neck, and they elevate and spotlight the very same polls that were the most inaccurate in 2016 and 2020. And then they just ignore everything else as an outlier. And this past week you had the largest, most notorious union in the country, the Teamsters, announce that for the first time since '96 they're not going to endorse any presidential candidate. And they also at the same time publicly released their internal polling numbers showing that their members support Trump almost 2-to-1 over Harris. We're talking almost 60% to her 34%. So they said, well, how about we compromise and we'll endorse nobody? But in doing it while simultaneously releasing their internal polling numbers, in a way they were kinda saying, fuck you! But in a little bit more subtle a way. And then less than 1 week after we had Gary Busey's stunt double try to assassinate Trump, we had a story break that got a lot of people to thinking maybe that was actually the third attempt. Because a few days before that, on Thursday, September 12th, Trump was at a rally in Tucson, Arizona, where a bunch of attendees went to the emergency room following it. This story also had some weird reporting. The rally in Tucson, Arizona on September 12th, which drew over 2,000 people in 100-degree heat, resulted in a number of Trump supporters going to the emergency room. I don't know why they would say it like that. In 100-degree heat, it was an indoor event, and the way the sentence reads, it almost makes it sound like they went to the emergency room for heat exhaustion. But immediately you had people thinking that this was some kind of weird chemical attack, because it only affected the people that were on the left side of the stage in the bleachers behind Trump, on the same side of the stage that he entered and exited from. You had 24 people standing on this little bleacher section, and pretty much all of them wound up seeking medical attention. But with the symptoms being only eye problems and no respiratory problems, it doesn't seem to fit with any of the known chemical agents, from chlorine gas to mustard gas, plus the delayed onset of this. So other people have commented that maybe this was some kind of ultraviolet spectrum laser. Those can cause a lot of damage to the retina, and it's not in the visible light spectrum, so you wouldn't even know that you're being hit with it. But either way, I don't think this was an assassination attempt. I'm not even convinced that Trump was the target of this. If you look at the group of people that got hit on stage, they were all members of Latinos for Trump. So as far as the left is concerned, they're turncoats, they're traitors, and maybe somebody decided to punish them for their treachery. And meanwhile, it took less than 1 week for this attempted shooter in West Palm Beach to fade into the background, didn't it? As the investigators delve into his life, trying to figure out what motivated him to do this and what radicalized him.
You serious?
This guy is as obviously a CIA asset as anybody ever was. And the fact that he put all this effort into trying to be able to get away clean, while not putting much effort at all into successfully being able to take the shot, makes it to me seem more and more likely that people are right in suspecting that this was a Secret Service op that they set up, possibly in conjunction with the CIA, to make themselves look less shitty. And the Secret Service wasted no time trying to pat themselves on the back for thwarting this shit. And you know, the one thing I was waiting for somebody to ask at these press conferences, but no one ever did, was where exactly was this dude fucking parked? Because he had a stolen car out of Broward County, and they're saying that he spent 12 hours hiding in these bushes. Well, where exactly was this car parked? See, at the top of this map here, it shows the spot where he was hiding. Now, directly across the street, you got a mobile gas station. Below that, you've got a tire shop. And then you see on the left here, you've got kind of like a street being used for semi-parking, it looks like. So I guess he probably parked there, because that would have the lowest chance of a cop randomly running your plate. Because that could really fuck up your getaway, you know? And if it weren't for this one random witness writing down the license plate number, this guy would have gotten away. But then at the same time, you're hiding out in the bushes with a bunch of black gear, a black rifle, and is this what he was wearing? A fucking pink coral-colored shirt? Has this guy never heard of a ghillie suit? You can get a decent one for 50 fucking bucks with a minimal amount of effort. This guy very well might have been successful, which is what makes me really suspicious about whether or not he was meant to be spotted. And that brings me to this week's pro tip for surviving the fucking. I had mentioned last week about ideas for camouflaging yourself in an urban environment, because while you're hiding in the bushes, a ghillie suit might work great, but if you go walking down the street like that, well, let's just say you're gonna attract a little bit more attention than you're looking for. And I had one commenter bring up the garbage ghillie suit, which, yeah, if you're going to be in a fixed position and setting up a little sniper nest, this is brilliant. But I was thinking more along the lines of ways that you can walk around and blend in, and it's what a lot of people refer to as the gray man theory, but a whole lot of the gray man shit that's out there basically just makes you look like a fucking off-duty Blackwater guy. To the point where it makes me not even want to call it gray man, just urban camouflage. Under normal times, things like a high-vis fluorescent vest, or coveralls, and carry around a clipboard, and nobody's gonna pay much attention to you. They might remember seeing you, but chances are they wouldn't even be able to describe the basic features of your face. In fact, studies have shown that when people see somebody in one of these worker drone uniforms, they'll be able to remember all these details about what the person was wearing, but nothing about their face. But suppose you're out working 20 miles or so from home, and shit goes sideways right in the middle of the day, and you've got your go bag to help get you home. But what kind of camouflage will help get you there the safest? How do you make yourself look like neither a threat nor a target? Well, my suggestion would be, appear to be homeless. And Coop Cooper, you nailed this one, bud. All you have to do is go to a thrift store, buy some baggy, unfashionable clothing, roll it up and throw it in the bottom of your get-home bag, and tuck a black garbage bag down in there with it. When the time comes, you throw those clothes on, and then throw your book bag inside of the garbage bag, and to anybody that sees you passing through, you're just gonna look like a homeless dude who's got all his belongings inside this garbage bag. And this is gonna give you your best shot at minimalizing the amount of people who are trying to interact with you, which is the next best thing to not being seen at all. Sláinte.
All I have in this world is my thoughts and my word, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night to the bad guy. 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 Come on. Come on.
Don't fuck with me! You stupid fuck! Look at you now!